Hey, Grace kids. So, have you ever been in your house before and you heard something off in the distance and it becomes clear and clear, and this is what you heard? What is that? That's the ice cream man. So, growing up, I would hear that song. I would track down my mom, my dad. Mom, Dad, please, can I get some ice cream? And they would have to give me money so I could go buy ice cream, or usually not give me money. So, I watched the ice cream man roll by. What was happening? Great crowds in our neighborhood, crowds of kids would come out when they heard the ice cream man was there. When Jesus was in this world, when Jesus rolled into town, when he walked into town, people started saying, Jesus is here. And they came out like adults, kids, grandmas, grandpas, like the crowds for ice cream. But this is the living Son of God. So, we're in week 3 of our Who Is This Man series. We've been talking about how different people through the Gospel of Mark view Jesus. Week 1, we said, how did God the Father view Jesus? He saw Jesus as God's beloved Son, God's loved Son. And if you're a child of God, if you receive Christ as Savior, you're God's loved son, you're God's loved daughter. Last week, we talked about how Jesus' own family, his own hometown, saw Jesus, and they just were not growing in their view of Jesus. They still saw him as that little boy who grew up, became a carpenter. They couldn't see him as the rabbi who amazed them, the Son of God. We talk about how we need to grow in our view of God. This week is how Jesus amazed the crowds, and people came running. So when you read through the Gospel of Mark, starting in Mark chapter 1, verse 22, he teaches in a synagogue. Mark 1:22, the people were amazed at his teaching, for he taught with real authority, quite unlike the teachers of religious law. When he taught, people were amazed. In chapter 3, verse 9, Jesus had to even arrange for a boat because people were going to crush him. There were so many people. Mark 3, verse 9, Jesus instructed his disciples to have a boat ready so the crowd would not crush him. I mean, they were running to see him. Mark 6, verse 2, again, he teaches in a synagogue, and they are amazed. Mark 6, verse 2, the next Sabbath, he began teaching in the synagogue, and many who heard him were amazed. In Mark chapter 7, Jesus heals a guy by spitting on his fingers and touching his tongue. His spit on their tongue, that sounds gross, but he began to speak. And it says in Mark chapter 7, verse 37, says this, they were completely amazed and said again and again, everything he does is wonderful. He even makes the deaf to hear and gives speech to those who cannot speak. Finally, in Mark chapter 9, verse 14 and 15, Mark chapter 9, verse 14 and 15, says this, when they returned to the other disciples, they saw a large crowd surrounding them, and some teachers of religious laws were arguing with them. When the crowd saw Jesus, they were overwhelmed with awe, and they ran to greet him. When Jesus was ministering, teaching, doing miracles, people would come running. They were shocked. They're amazed. It's like if Patrick Mahomes walked into your school and they said, hey, if you want to go see him, you can. How many kids would come running? Like there are casual fans of Patrick Mahomes, and they know the name. And then there's super fans. They know his jersey number. They know his position. They know what college he went to. They may wear the jersey. They may fashion their hair like Patrick Mahomes. They are super fans. This is telling us that, God, as you grow in your love for Jesus, you become not just a casual fan, a super fan who comes running, who is amazed, because we serve the living God who came into this world, who will change your life and other people. That is what the crowd saw. Love you guys.